After a high-speed crash in Phoenix, Arizona, Mansell crashed at 160 miles an hour during practice for the Velvo Line 200 race at the Indycar Oval track in Phoenix. But first reports say he's escaped with nothing more than concussion after his car piled through the track wall and careered out of control for 150 yards. It took 10 minutes to cut him free and airlift him to hospital. Shepherd.
Hello and welcome to Eurosport for coverage of the second round of the PPG World Series from Phoenix, Arizona. My name is Ben Edwards and I'm joined by co-founder of March Racing, Robin Hurd, who is currently Gerard Larousse's partner in the Larousse Formula One team. The headline story here at Phoenix has occurred even before the race begins. Nigel Mansell, world champion and winner of the first IndyCar race at Surfers Paradise 2 weeks ago, crashed heavily in practice yesterday and is currently watching the race from his hospital bed. Robin, you've been responsible for the winning cars at Phoenix on 5 or 6 occasions in the past, and you know the circuit well. What is the particular challenge of this circuit which perhaps caught Mansell out?
Well, simply, it's an oval circuit, not a street circuit. An oval circuit doesn't demand a different style of driving, rather it demands a different attitude to that driving.
So it may well just have caught him out in terms of the way he's approached the circuit and less room for manoeuvre, obviously. We can see there a good picture of the circuit itself, concrete walls surrounding the whole of that track, and we can see it's actually not a pure oval, it's actually got a bit of a kink in it, but obviously not a lot of room for error there.
No, and that is the problem. We don't actually know what caused the accident yet. It could be any one of a number of causes. But the problem is that if something goes wrong, you've got to be very lucky to get away with it without hitting the wall.
Well, certainly Mansell hit the wall very hard indeed, and in fact put a hole in the wall that they had to repair. So we're not going to be seeing Mansell out in the race. It's a great shame. A lot of English fans out there, of course, there to enjoy Mansell's debut on the oval circuits, and they're going to be very disappointed, as are we, not to see him race. Nevertheless, we're going to have a very, very exciting race, I'm sure. It's a 1 mile oval. It's the fastest 1 mile oval in the world. Lap times or lap speeds averaging around 170 miles an hour. So they really are very, very fast lap times, almost managing to do 3 laps every minute. Round of the IndyCar World Series. On pole position then is Scott Goodyear. Alongside him, veteran IndyCar racer Mario Andretti, Nigel Mansell's teammate in the Newman-Haas Lola team. On the second row of the grid, Emerson Fittipaldi, the Formula One world champion and 1989 IndyCar champion. Alongside him, Roberto Guerrero in the Budweiser-sponsored King Motorsports car. On the next row, Paul Tracy, the young Canadian and star of qualifying at Surfers Paradise. Alongside him is Raoul Boesel in the Duracell Mobil 1 Charger Lola T93. Next up, Bobby Rahal, the reigning champion and defending champion here at Phoenix, winner of last year's race, and alongside him, Teo Fabi in the Pennzoil Special. On the next row, the young Jimmy Vasser, 27 years old, in the Codalux STP L92 Chevy. And alongside him, Arie Luyendyk, local man here at Phoenix. This is his local circuit. He'll be on for a good result. Next up, Mark Smith, a rookie driver, and he's in the Craftsman PC92. Alongside him is Scott Brayton in the Amway Northwest Airlines L93. Al Unser Jr. back on the 7th row alongside Danny Sullivan, his teammate. Not good for the Gallus team. Then we see Scott Pruitt. Alongside him is the American Eddie Cheever. Hiro Matsushita, the Japanese driver, he qualified on row 9. Alongside him, Buddy Lazier. Row 10, the Swede, Stefan Johansson in Tony Bettenhausen's car. And alongside him, Robbie Gordon, the guy who finished 3rd at Surfers Paradise on his first oval circuit race in an IndyCar. 21st on the grid, Lynn St. James, rookie driver at Indianapolis last year. Alongside her is Dave Kudraev. Next up, it's Robbie Bull, former Barbasad champion. Alongside him, Marco Greco, a racer from F3 and 3000 in Europe. Last man on the grid is the Canadian Ross Bentley in his Agfa Rain-X Chevy, Lola Chevy, the 92 car. So that's how the grid looks for this Valvoline 200, and certainly we've got an exciting front row lineup there, Robin, with Scott Goodyear, the younger guy, 33 years old, Canadian. He's been racing in IndyCars for about 2 or 3 seasons. Alongside him, we've got the real veteran of IndyCar racing, Mario Andretti. It could be a good, exciting tussle between these two.
Yes, we were lucky in that 2 or 3 of the team managers very kindly rang up in the middle of the night after the end of practice to
you were lucky,
those of us at Eurosport the inside information on what they expected their teams to do, and that included Mario Andretti's and of course Mansell's team. And we actually know in the booth just what the race tactics are for Mario, but the deal was that we don't reveal them until we get to the various laps during the race.
Okay, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what the pit plan for the race is. Now, just tell us a little bit about the strategy. I mean, this is a 200-mile race, 200 laps. It's a 1-mile oval, so we've got 200-mile race. How many pit stops are we likely to see through the course of this race?
If there were no yellows, no problems, there'd be 2 pit stops. In mistakes on the road circuits, we shall see, but undoubtedly a champion of the future.
And alongside him, Raoul Boesel, who's been involved in IndyCar racing on and off now for quite a few years. Another man we've actually saw in Formula One in the early 80s for a couple of seasons. He actually drove for the Ram March team and for Ligier, and now in the IndyCar racing. Okay, now let's just carry on looking down the grid as we were doing there with Bobby Rahal and Teo Fabi on the next row. Bobby Rahal in his own car this year. It's actually a development of the True Sports from last year, renamed the Rahal Hogan. And alongside him, Teo Fabi. Now, Robin, you worked with Teo 10 years ago, virtually to the day, when he had a pretty good result here at Phoenix.
Yes, it was in those days, the race here. They had 2 races in the year here, and one was at the end of the year. But it was Teo's first year. He was a rookie, and he set pole position, led every lap of the race, and broke the lap record, and lost the championship by 1 point. So one interesting point about that row, that is in Rahal's chassis, that is the only major component that isn't actually made in Britain. Every other chassis is made in Britain, and every engine is made in Britain.
So that's pretty amazing that just that one car is the all-American racer, is that car of Bobby Rahal. There we've got a good look at the scheme of the circuit, the 1-mile track here. You can see that it's not a pure oval. The first turns 1 and 2 being that much sharper than turns 3 and 4, and in fact for turns 1 and 2 they're not actually quite braking, but they're certainly coming off the throttle. It's not flat out even in qualifying, let alone in the race when they've got their 40 gallons on board, and that certainly is something they have to consider, the weight balance on the car, changing things around quite a lot. There we can see the number of chassis of each particular mark that we've got in the race. Lola dominating things with their 93 car, and then we can see the engines table, fairly even match there between the Chevy Indy C version, which is the latest version, and the Ford Cosworth. Just wanted to quickly mention Jimmy Vasser, who's on the next row back, the 5th row. A great performance this, Robin, from Jimmy. Young guy, 27 years old, not as experienced as a lot of these guys, and in an older car, but he's done very well in qualifying.
Very impressive. He's underfunded, has been underfunded through his career, and unquestionably is going to has got the talent that's going to show other teams, top teams, that here's a driver to have.
Okay, well, alongside him is Arie Luyendyk, the local boy, and Arie Luyendyk is an excellent oval track. But it looks as though we could be getting on to a race start situation here. The pace car having pulled in, the green flag flies, and the second round of the PPG IndyCar World Series is underway. It's Scott Goodyear who takes the early lead, but Andretti drives round the outside in the Newman Haas Lola, and it's Andretti who takes the early lead from Scott Goodyear in second place, and the 53-year-old veteran of IndyCar racing leads the way as they go round on completing their first lap. A great start there, Robin.
To do an overtaking manoeuvre like that at the start, brilliant.
On cold tyres, of course, these guys not allowed tyre warmers. We can see the 2 Penske's there just sandwiching the car of Guerrero. So it's Fittipaldi in 3rd, Guerrero 4th, with Paul Tracy just tucked in behind him, and it looks like Teo Fabi just in behind him. So Fittipaldi's got his mirrors pretty well full of Roberto Guerrero at the moment in that 3rd place, but out in front it's Andretti. Scott Goodyear holding on to 2nd place at the moment, and Goodyear is a very canny driver. He thinks a lot about his racing. He's not the guy to make a silly mistake on that first lap, we think. Or we better not speak too soon. But Goodyear certainly looking good as Tracy has a little look down the inside of Guerrero, tries to hold that tighter line and tries to take that 4th place, not having it so far. Guerrero defending his line. Tracy tucked right in behind. Now then, Robin, he's going to get into problems maybe with a bit of disturbance over his wings, and that's going to affect the balance of the car.
Yes, it's a real test of him here, because he's not that experienced on ovals, and overtaking in these conditions is very difficult. You've really got to set up your overtake or half a lap back.
So Tracy really working hard to try and find a way past Guerrero. Tracy's done over 2,000 miles of testing over the winter break. A lot of that would have been done here at Phoenix. So he really knows his way around here well. He's trying the outside line now, perhaps, as they go into turn one. And he goes right round the outside, and Tracy moves up into fourth place. That really was quite some manoeuvre, wasn't it, Robin?
Fantastic.
So Tracy now up into fourth. That means he's chasing after his team leader, Emerson Fittipaldi. And we can see there Fittipaldi closing up to Scott Goodyear for that second position. So Goodyear coming under pressure. Fittipaldi has a little look down the inside, and it certainly looks as though the Penske team have got these cars very well set up for these opening laps. Obviously, there's an awful long way to go. The cars are still on full tanks at the moment. They're on good tyres as Tracy closes up towards Fittipaldi as well. And certainly Goodyear now has his mirrors full of the two Marlboro machines. Fittipaldi has a little look, tries the inside line, and yes, indeed, he does. He goes down the inside and takes that second place from Scott Goodyear, and really showing the way to do it. The master now, Fittipaldi, of the oval course as well as the road course. He's learnt his craft, and that was a beautiful manoeuvre as Tracy also takes that position. So Scott Goodyear, in the course of about a lap and a half there, going down from being in second place down to fourth place. Somebody going a little slower there, but certainly, Robin, the Penskes look as though they're in pretty good form here this afternoon.
They're handling extremely well, which you really wouldn't expect anything else from them. The interesting thing, of course, is that now, for the first time in some 4 or 5 years, Mario is effectively the team leader of the team. For the last 4 years, his son was really number one, and Mario could be the long stop. And of course, this year, Nigel's been the number one. But today, Mario's got to go out and fly the flag for the team, and doing a pretty good job of it. And I like the way those Penskes are going.
The Penskes are looking threatening, that's for sure. We haven't really seen much of Mario so far because he's been out in front. And as we mentioned earlier, his last win was in fact here at Phoenix way back in 1988. That was the last win of his career so far. As Tracy has a little look at his team leader Fittipaldi now, and Tracy, the young charger, the 24-year-old, he takes that place away. So Tracy it is who now moves up into second place. Fittipaldi down to third, so it's Paul Tracy now who goes chasing after Mario Andretti. But Andretti, there he is in the lead now. What's this? Tracy goes round the outside. There are 3 cars abreast there, and Paul Tracy takes the lead in a superb manoeuvre around the outside. So it's Paul Tracy who now leads, and Tracy really looking in very strong form indeed. Only 24 years old, only in his first full season of IndyCar racing. It's Paul Tracy who takes the lead. Mario Andretti down into second place, and I think Tracy's been taking some lessons from Rick Mears.
I think you're right. I mean, Rick was the greatest on ovals. I mean, he's the Senna or the Mansell, or whatever you say, of road racing. And his driving today is phenomenal. And I believe we're going to see the tactics developing of Tracy being the hare and Emo just sitting there watching Mario, because the 3 of them seem to be pulling away a little bit from Scott Goodyear.
They certainly do. Scott Goodyear not quite having the same pace. It's Tracy out in front at the moment, with Fittipaldi in second, or just not in second yet because he's still pressuring Andretti. Andretti in second with Fittipaldi in third. We're going to be bringing you further coverage of this exciting Valvoline 200 in just a moment. Stay with us here on Eurosport. 200 from Phoenix. And we return to see Paul Tracy still with a very healthy lead. It's around 6.5 seconds, just over 6.5 seconds. And just look at the way Paul Tracy is dealing with the traffic at the moment. It really is pretty crowded out there at the moment. We can see Teo Fabi at the head of that little group of cars. And Tracy really is having to work hard to try and squeeze his way through. He's being a bit more careful there on the inside. But Robin, he's having a pretty tough time of it now to get past these back markers. Well, I say back markers. We've got some quick guys there.
Well, he's passed Allens Jr., he's passed Sullivan, he's passed Fabi. I mean, he's just walking away with it, as you say. I think at the last lap he was over 7 seconds ahead. It's a one-man race. Oh, what a shame that Mansell isn't here.
That's right. I mean, it really is a great loss that we haven't got Mansell. Mansell was actually fastest when he went off in that unofficial session yesterday, and he really was showing them the way to go, but obviously everything went a bit wrong.
Well, Jim McGee rang up this morning. He said that at the time Mansell had done 4 laps in succession under the lap record and faster than the pole position at 20.7. At that time no one else was quicker than 21.5, and going into the turn on the 5th lap the back end immediately broke away. There was no hope of doing anything to recover it, and thank heavens Nigel went in backwards. The car set up very well, but really one wouldn't expect anything else from Lola. And he has been very lucky to get away so lightly. Apparently he was unconscious for about 4 seconds, but his memory's gone for maybe 30 minutes. And all he's got is concussion, or the consequences of concussion, and a bruised shoulder.
So certainly Mansell, I think, could have maybe taken the race to Tracy, but Tracy now with a over 9-second advantage in the lead. It really is quite an incredible performance, this, as we see a pit visitor there, and that looks like Eddie Cheever. So Cheever has come in early. I would say that is a very early pit stop. Robin certainly would have had some problems, maybe blistered a tyre or something.
Yeah, he's got a tiny problem, as I say. I mean, you look at that. Lyndike, Brayton, Unser 1 lap down. I saw our old friend Marco Greco 2 laps down. Obviously he must have a problem with his car. Yeah,
but it's Paul Tracy.
I've never seen anybody dominate this particular circuit quite like his.
He certainly seems to be just running away with it at the moment. He's setting faster and faster times all the time. One thing that occurred to me was, and I don't know whether this is possible or not, would they consider starting the race on less than full tanks to try and get this sort of break? Can they make that up in terms of extra pit stop?
It has been done, but this is scarcely a race where you do that, unless you're trying to pull something totally out of the blue, which of course is not unknown with the Penske team, because the Ford engine will do about 210 laps.
We've got a bit of a change around there. Scott Goodyear just moving past Emerson Fittipaldi. Sorry to interrupt you there, Robin, but Goodyear putting together some quick laps again, and he's now managed to get past Emerson Fittipaldi, so that moves him up into 2nd place. Fittipaldi coming back as we look at out of the back of Bobby Rahal's car, that is. We're looking from there. There we see Rahal, the defending champion here and the defending race winner at Phoenix. So he's now gone down another lap to Fittipaldi. Here we see from the forward-looking camera on Rahal's car, we get a good view of the track here as they go around this very, very tight 1 mile oval. They're just coming out of turn 4 and onto the start-finish straight here. It's a very short straight, obviously. They come down to turn 1 where they're just lifting off for a little way as they come into the corner, and around here is where Nigel Mansell actually crashed in practice yesterday. They come out of turn 2 onto the back stretch, which actually has a left-hand kink. We can see him just going into that left-hand kink there, and then of course leading on to turn 3 and 4. Very, very fast circuit, not as fast as the super speedways at Indianapolis and Michigan, but nevertheless very, very quick. But look at how Paul Tracy is just diving past this slower traffic. He really has got a good setup on the car. The question is, I think, can he maintain this sort of speed?
I think the point you made, that it being the setup, is absolutely right, because the Lola is also an extremely good car. There's very little in performance difference between them, but I did notice in the race 2 weeks ago in Australia that it did seem that the Penske seemed to be that easier, that bit more forgiving to drive. And of course that's very useful in these sort of races. You can hero within reason a couple of quick laps around here, but you can't hero a race, and it just seems that the 2 Penske cars are that much easier. I wouldn't worry too much about Emerson falling back. He's a canny customer and he'll just sit there covering Scott Goodyear.
And he was just there, as you were speaking, Robin, just going past Mario Andretti. So our early race leader has already gone down a lap. So this really does show the incredible pace of Paul Tracy. He's already put Mario Andretti down another lap.
Well, it's great to see. I mean, without giving away secrets, we didn't expect to be doing the commentary, but I hope we're not going to have to commentate on 200 laps of Tracy running away from the opposition.
Well, last year, of course, the race was dominated by Bobby Rahal, but the race was certainly taken to him on that occasion by Eddie Cheever at first, and then by Rick Mears, who was in the Penske last year, retired at the end of last season, of course. But Rick Mears ran into trouble. Cheever couldn't quite keep the pressure up on Rahal, and it was Rahal who led from start to finish. Well, looks like Paul Tracy's trying to emulate that. Only his second Phoenix start, as we can see from that. So it really is quite an impressive run. As we said earlier, he's done a lot of testing miles around here, and he's had some good advice from Rick Mears on how to drive the race. But it certainly looks like a team plan, as you said, perhaps to send Tracy out very, very quickly. Now, Bobby Rahal is in the pits. We've had 23 laps, 24 laps now, and so Rahal has come in. This is a little bit earlier than we would have expected. So maybe some sort of trouble with that car. They may be making a few changes to the wing setup on it. And Rahal out of the pits fairly quickly, but certainly a little bit early, I would say, Robin, and perhaps some sort of problem.
Yeah, I think we can now say we're expecting to see Mario in at about lap 68. And he's happy at getting away with 2 fuel stops. And again, I think we can now announce that the Newman Haas team really were able to run pretty much the 70 laps without any obvious degradation of the tyres. So quite why Bobby had tyre problems, I don't know. The only point I would make is that's the only car that isn't either a Lola or a Penske.
That's right, so they could well have a different wear rate on the Goodyear tyre. They're all on Goodyear tyres in IndyCar racing. So it's a control tyre. Everybody's got the same one, but of course the car might use it a bit differently. So we saw Andretti there in 4th place at the moment. It looks like Tracy's going to come in just behind Fittipaldi now and maybe put a lap on him as well. So he's having a little look down the inside. Fittipaldi giving him room there, definitely. And obviously saw Tracy coming up in his mirrors. I'm surprised he had time to see all that with all the traffic that they're trying to get past. Looks like he's just going past Cheever there, a little bit of tight space, trying to find a way through. But Tracy still really setting a very, very quick pace at the moment.
Be interesting to see how Emma lets him through. Yeah, beautiful.
So Tracy then past Fittipaldi and continues on his way. He's led most of the laps so far. Andretti had that early lead, but Tracy certainly trying to improve on those second places that he scored at Michigan and Mid-Ohio last year. They were good results for a guy in his early stages of his IndyCar career, and he certainly is looking very, very good here at Phoenix, the Valvoline 200. Just the second round of the series. There's Scott Goodyear just in behind him now. Goodyear going a little bit better in second place. So there we see Tracy. Goodyear that much closer now. And we could well see a bit of a battle developing. So Paul Tracy in the Roger Penske car. This car built in Poole in Dorset. So another British car in some ways. Here we can see after 44 laps, and he is a lap ahead. We did wonder actually. Goodyear in second place, but he's a lap down. So Paul Tracy now has lapped the entire field, and that's just after 44 laps, Robin.
I just don't believe it. The one thing is, for me, is a personal delight to see how well Scott Goodyear is going, although he's been lapped. In that Derek Warwick was the crew chief and mastermind behind 3 of our cars that won Indy, and he's set up his own team now with very little money. This is an under-financed team. He's got a very good engineer, again, good friend of ours, and it's great to see that skill and ambition, the hard work can triumph over a lot of money.
So here we see Tracy just lapping again. Little Al there, Al Unser Jr. going past him. And just in behind is Roberto Guerrero in the Budweiser car. Just tucked in behind now. Guerrero putting in a good performance at the moment, but certainly nobody able to live with Paul Tracy. There's Andretti, Mario Andretti just ahead of Guerrero. And there's a good little battle hotting up between these two. Guerrero tucked in just a couple of lengths behind. Now then, Cheever has retired. Oh, that's a shame. Eddie Cheever has retired from the race. so it looks as though his race is run. Finished second here at Phoenix last year. There we see his car in the pits, obviously some sort of problem with that. And so Cheever now out of the race.
Yes, we're on lap 48 now. And so we're, what are we, 20 laps off the first proper pit stop. Cheever's been something of an enigma. He was a very good Formula One driver, and for whatever reason, team or whatever, it's certainly not his skill. He hasn't quite cut the mustard yet in kart, but he's a determined character, immense natural talent, and there's plenty of time.
Certainly is. Cheever actually getting replaced in the Chip Ganassi team by Arie Luyendyk, and Luyendyk now racing with Chip Ganassi. He raced with them once last year. There's Scott Brayton in the pit, so it looks like Scott Brayton's got some sort of problems with the Amway car. Brayton running with Dick Simon Racing, has been a regular in IndyCar racing for quite a few years now. He had a third place at Milwaukee last year, which was his best result to date. That was again on a 1 mile oval, although the Milwaukee circuit somewhat different to the circuit here at Phoenix. But Brayton certainly in trouble with some sort of problem with that car. Obviously it looks as though there could be some sort of engine problem, the way they've taken that engine cover off. So that's a great shame. And it looks as though Scott Brayton's in problems. So there we see Danny Sullivan in the pits as well. So Danny Sullivan in the Gallez Lola, and it really hasn't been a very good weekend so far for the Gallez team. Both cars qualifying well down the order, and so Danny Sullivan now looks as though he's in extra difficulties with the car. They're working both ends of the car, so don't know what's wrong, but certainly something serious.
Yes, it's the Gallez Craco team seems to be having a problem. It is a conundrum, because when they got together with their engineer, they were, and ran a standard Lola, they were very competitive by doing steady modifications on it. They then built their own car, which came under a lot of criticism. It just happened to win Indianapolis, but nevertheless came into a lot of criticism. And everybody said, well, you know, put them back with the standard Lola and they'll be right up at the front. Well, the answer is they're not. And I'm sure they will get back there. Now, just as a coincidence, the engineering team for the Scott Goodyear car is in the factory next to the engineering team for the Alanza Danny Sullivan car in Vista, and just across the road from the LaRousse Formula One technical team.
They all stick together, these guys,
and
don't they?
yes, the pubs around there knows all pretty well.
I'm sure they do. We just saw Ray Howell back in the pits there and back out, so certainly it looks as though the defending Phoenix 200 champion is in trouble for this race. I don't think he's going to repeat his victory from last year. He won it back in '84 as well, and so I don't think we're going to see him winning it this time round. But Tracy it is, who is still absolutely dominating. We've now well over quarter distance. We're on lap 54 now, and Tracy is certainly just showing the field the way to go at the moment, dealing with the traffic in a superb style, and it doesn't seem to be holding him back at all, obviously allowing for it all the time. There we see Andretti a little bit further down, and he's still going well. He's still got Scott Goodyear tucked in behind him, though. These two racing for position. And Goodyear looking at a little look down the inside and takes Andretti, in fact. So the Walker Motorsports car going through past Andretti. And so we think that could be for position. But we're going to rejoin the coverage of the Valvoline 200 in just a moment. For coverage of the Valvoline 200 from Phoenix, with Paul Tracy dominating proceedings at the moment. We are now going to join our American commentary team live at the track.
Not have to pit as quick as everybody else did is also quite surprising. Obviously getting great fuel economy from the Penske car at this event. Fuel economy, a big thing 2 weeks ago in Australia. Emerson Fittipaldi, it turned out, had 2.5 gallons of fuel left, and they had told him he didn't have any, so he backed off and only lost the race by 5 seconds. Of course, Nigel Mansell ran out of fuel the moment he crossed the line. Emma O'Malley was very upset with the crew and the team for not telling him he had that much fuel left and making that mistake, because he could have won it. There you see Sullivan getting out of his car, and also Paul Tracy making his pit stop.
Our leader, Paul Tracy, is on pit lane as Danny Sullivan gets out of the car. Now watch the Penske crew go to work. We've got a clock on it here. We'll tell you it's exactly a great pit stop. You can see it in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Roger Penske, Chief Mechanic Tim Bumps. They're up to 12 seconds, waiting for the fuel. Great stop. 14-4 as he's out and underway. Paul Tracy.
You can see how excited and happy the crew are too. I think everybody's in shock at the whole thing. Keep it clean.
Now it'll be interesting to see where he comes out after the serial of stops. There is Scott Goodyear. And
Goodyear is going to make his pit stop too now.
So Scott Goodyear, notice that bump right there. You come in there a little bit too fast and it can really throw you for a loop. Derek Walker, the owner, Buddy Lindblom, as the crew goes to work. Again, 4-tire change. I was looking for blisters on the tires, but they seem to be holding up well.
2 Canadians leading this field, Paul Tracy and Scott Goodyear.
Now remember, Tracy's stop was 14.4, and this is taking longer. 17.7, so there is 3 seconds lost in this first of what will be at least a 2-stop race. And if we go with no yellows, it's a 3-stop race.
And Paul Tracy's going to be back around before Scott Goodyear is going to be able to get up to speed, because he's out on cold tires, and it's a full load of fuel.
In fact, Tracy's already into turns 3 and 4, so he has passed him back in. Here comes Emerson Fittipaldi. Now he is shown in 3rd place at this point. 2nd, actually, after the stop by Goodyear. Again, the Penske crew goes to work. Let's watch and see what happens. Remember the 2 times, 14.4 and 17.7 for Tracy and Goodyear, respectively. Now all they're waiting for is fuel. This is a great stop, 14.1.
We've heard some good rumors about Emerson Fittipaldi's good Brazilian friend at Senna this weekend, and unable to confirm any of them. Just rumors, let's put it that way. Also this morning, actually, Michael Knight, who is the public relations officer for the Newman Haas team, held a press conference, and a couple of questions were asked about, did the bump that Nigel have yesterday put him off the whole Indycar series and make him want to go back to Formula One? And it was completely flatly refused. No, he does not want to.
Robbie Gordon is currently shown in 3rd place as the serial of pit stops continues. Now Gordon has yet to make his stop, so we'll wait and see how things shake out. He's going to have to come in soon. In fact, they are set up and ready over at A.J. Foyt's pit. You know, everybody's talked about the 2 personalities. Robbie Gordon, very strong, bullheaded by some people's opinions. Here he comes into pit lane. And of course, A.J. Foyt's reputation is legendary. And there seems to be a consensus of one of 2 thoughts. Either A.J. will be very compatible with Robbie because that was the same way he was when he was that age, and he'll take him aside under his wing and understand him. Or it's going to be like 2 batteries with the same charge, and they're going to repel each other and literally explode.
Either way, I don't want to be around when we find out.
Well, there is the venerable Foyt as his driver is back out on course.
It's amazing, actually, this weekend watching AJ. He's been doing a lot of the work himself. You'd think, you know, he's been in the limelight all these years, that he may stand back and watch and direct, but he doesn't. He actually gets out there and grabs the spanner himself, and he'll get away and work on the car and give instructions and shout at people.
Here at the Valvoline 200, our leader is Paul Tracy. The first serial of pit stops is continuing. Most of our leaders have been in. Scott Goodyear is 2nd. Roberto Guerrero is 3rd. Raul Boisel is shown in 4th position at this point. I'm Marty Reed along with Guy Hobbs, and welcome to ESPN International's coverage of round 2 of the Indycar World Series.
Paul Tracy, at the end of last year, talked about the possibilities of going into Formula One, talked to a few teams over in Europe, and I think it's probably something he does look forward to in the long run, but I'm sure he would like to win the IndyCar Series and possibly the Indianapolis 500 before making the step over. Robbie Gordon.
Yes, he's shown now dropping back to 6th spot on the racetrack. Now that pit stop took a little longer than some of the others, so he lost a position to Roberto Guerrero. He was 5th, and he is now shown in 6th position. I'll tell you, the guy to watch out right now is Raul Boisel. He has moved into 4th, slowly but surely.
He's been good all weekend, qualified in 6th place, and was 5th quickest in the morning warm-up this morning. Got a pretty good package put together there, Raul Boisel. He's in the Lola, Ford Cosworth, the 1993 Lola. The thing about the Ford engine, they're able to make just a little smaller chassis to fit the Ford engine in than they are to fit the Chevrolet engine, which is why they've developed the Chevy C to make the engine smaller so they can make the chassis smaller.
Did everybody follow that at home? I certainly hope so. Look at this crowd. Absolutely jammed here at Phoenix International Raceway as we watch our leader, Paul Tracy. He has a lead of 1 lap on everyone in the field. We can tell you Scott Brayton's car is being pushed behind the wall, so it looks like his day is done as well.
As is Danny Sullivan's car being pushed behind the wall. Not a good year for Danny Sullivan so far this year.
Yeah, right now we're showing Danny Sullivan, Eddie Cheever, and Scott Brayton out of this race.
You may as well count Bobby Rahal out of this race too. He's been sitting in pit lane for quite some time. There
is our leaderboard after lap 78. Paul Tracy, there is the shot from Ari Vandyke's car as he comes out of pit lane and back into this race. Now Ari well down in the field. But he's pleased to announce he's expecting twins in August, twin boys. He is running 12th at this point, and that was before the pit stop. There you see Mario Andretti going around, Ari. And behind Mario, you see charging Emma. Now there is the view out of Mario's car. Those are the turn 1 suites. If you've got quite a few dollars or pounds, you can get one. Down the back stretch, look at the traffic up ahead. You have very little time to check your gauges. I mean, there's no time to relax in this 1 mile atmosphere. There's so much traffic going on out there, so many things you got to keep your eye on straight ahead. You don't get to make the sway margins. It's one of the things Lynn St. James was talking about. She has an adjustment to turn up or turn down the boost, and she's having a hard time finding the time to make those little adjustments that the real veteran drivers who have been out here year after year can make in a moment's flash. And there you can see why. It's a tight 1 mile oval and full of traffic, and I mean, you don't have time to make the route. That third car in there is Scott Pruitt. Mario along with Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi is in 3rd place. Mario is now shown in 6th. Robbie Gordon has moved back up to 5th. Roberto Guerrero is shown in 4th. Now there's our update after 82 laps as we're approaching. The halfway point will be 100 laps. Only 2 leaders and 1 lead change. And there are the cars, as we told you, that are out of this race. Scott Brayton, Danny Sullivan, and Eddie Cheever. Emmo taking a look down the inside as they go into turn 3. You don't particularly want to sit behind someone for too long either. Well, as everyone who follows any Formula racing, you get what's called dirty air if you stay back there. Boy, Fittipaldi gets around Mario. You also get dirty visor and dirty vision. And he's starting to pull away from Mario Andretti. Eddie Cheever was complaining yesterday about the tear-offs on his helmet, and he just did not have enough supplied on there. I guess he has a helmet man, and he was telling the helmet man that there better be enough on there. Mario Andretti in 6th place currently. We ride on board down through turn 3 and 4. There you can see this capacity crowd here too. There's Raul Boisel, and our first good look at him today. Boisel is, he just made a pit stop. He is shown back in 7th place after the pit. Going around Hiro Matsushita, and look out, that looks like our race leader coming up on to put him a lap down. Another lap, I should say. That's Ross Bentley, Canadian in between the two of them. Looked like Bentley had his arm up a little. Was he signaling he had trouble? I think Ross Bentley's been having trouble all weekend. They qualified last yesterday. Although we did have some good times in the second practice session Saturday afternoon. Remember, Raul Boisel used to drive for True Sports the year Scott Pruitt was injured. Had a long season with that team, not able to get the kind of results that they had actually hoped for. This may turn out to be a good ride for Boisel. He finished 8th in Australia, picked himself up 5 points in the championship, and obviously would like to add to that. That's a 93 Lola Ford Cosworth, and here we are back on our leader as he's getting ready to pass Teo Bobby. That is Paul Tracy. Boy, Tracy just going around everybody. Yes, that was defending champion behind Bobby Rahal, going yet another lap down. In fact, Rahal is shown still in 22nd place.
No points for 22nd.
In fact, he is 43 laps to the rear. Well, the brain trust of Penske Racing on the left, that is Roger Penske. He has got to be happy with what he is seeing right now. His cars are running in first and third at 91 laps. We're almost to the halfway point, and young Paul Tracy has definitely been going to school with his teacher, the venerable Rick Mears.
Paul Tracy is also about to pick himself up a bonus point in the championship for leading the most laps in this race.
Emerson Fittipaldi, the other half of the team, in third place. He is 20 seconds behind Scott Goodyear. Goodyear in second place.
So as we leave our American commentary team for a moment, we just have a quick look at how things are laid out for this race. Paul Tracy in the lead from Scott Goodyear in second, Emerson Fittipaldi in third, then Roberto Guerrero in fourth place. Robbie Gordon, a tremendous performance from the young Californian again. He's now up into fifth place from his 20th position starting on the grid. And then we see Mario Andretti. Now, Robin, you noticed something about Mario Andretti's car when he came in the pits.
Yes, contrary to what we were told by Jim McGee, the team manager, he came in on lap 61. And if you look carefully, you could see that the right front tyre was badly blistered. Now, this means that the car is out of balance. And I suspect the fact that he came back in the field from first back to sixth was because the car was understeering.
Just a quick point there, we see Stefan Johansson just pulling off the track. The former Formula One driver. Looks as though that Tony Bettenhausen car is in trouble. There's a yellow out, so we could well see the pace car out now to slow the field down. That'll be our first yellow flag period. Do you think we're going to get some stops?
Probably not, because it's Sod's Law. It's happened exactly at the wrong time. It's happened coming up to lap 100, which is right between your first and second pit stop. Very interesting. They were very clever at the lap they brought Mario in. He came in on his 61st lap, which just gives him enough laps to do just one more pit stop to get the full fuel consumption.
So the car's now under a yellow flag and having to go slow behind the pace car. We're going to return with more coverage of the 200 in just a moment. Phoenix 200, the Valvoline 200, and it certainly is an exciting race. It's all slowed up a little bit now. The pace car is out because the yellow flags were brought out as Stefan Johansson's car was recovered. So, Robin, a little bit of time to think about what's actually happened in the race so far. What are your thoughts so far on the race?
Well, the first thing, obviously, is the phenomenal performance of Tracy. It doesn't surprise any of us who are over there. He seems, so far, to have got rid of the tendency to have a tiny little problem at some stage in the race, although that could still happen, and we should be wary of that. And I'm sure that Emo is sitting there just watching there. He knows he can't match Tracy's pace, and he's probably not prepared to. He's a slightly more prudent driver, and he's sitting watching Gordon. I imagine he feels he can overtake Goodyear. I imagine he thinks he can overtake Goodyear if he wants to. Whether that's true, we'll see. We've
got a green flag. The race is underway again. So the field just settling back into order. Paul Tracy leading them away, still with a very healthy lead. Scott Goodyear in second place. Emerson Fittipaldi then in third. Then Roberto Guerrero in fourth. And Robbie Gordon in fifth place. So a long way to go, Robin, until the end of the race. We're only about half distance so far.
Yeah, the whole thing about getting these cars to work is actually getting the tyres happy. If the tyres are happy, the car will be quick. Mario's tyres weren't happy.
Okay, well, we're going to rejoin our American commentary team now.
Take a look at Mario Andretti on this replay. Whoa, there's contact made. Now, this was on the restart, and that is Ross Bentley. Bentley, of course, the slowest man out on the track.
Out of Canada. He's not, of course, in the brand new equipment either. Ross Bentley is running in some older. He's in the 92 Lola with a Chevy A engine, which is a couple of years old.
Bentley running in 19th spot. There's Roberto Guerrero. This is a great story. I mean, this man's career, a lot of people gave up on him several years ago after a very serious crash, and there were times when people wondered if he would ever be back to normal. Well, he's back beyond normal, folks. He is incredible with what he has done. Of course, he qualified with a record at the pole for the Indianapolis 500, only to have the cold temperatures of the day come up and bite him on the pace lap when he looped it as the turbo kicked in and swapped ends on him before he could catch it. You know what I liked about that whole situation? His team owner, Kenny Bernstein, never gave up on him, never said a bad word. He says, hey, I'm a driver. We all make mistakes.
Scott Goodyear coming into the pits seems to be coming in slower than he should be.
Yeah, he is not apparently underpowered. He has got a problem because they are looking underneath to the rear, and he came in without the engine fired, and they are going to work in the rear end. So this is not a good sign for Scott Goodyear, as it looks as though his chances of winning here at Phoenix have gone by the wayside. This will shake up our order. It'll move Emerson Fittipaldi into second place. One more time, Bobby Rahal coming into the pits. He's having a disastrous day.
I think you'll find at this point Bobby Rahal is just out there running around trying to get some information on 1 mile ovals, test the car, play around with it and see what they can come up with. There you see the chassis, the RH Rahal Hogan 001.
And they've got a new version of this chassis that's going to be coming out in around June or July as their target date. And I'm sure that they're taking all the data that they can get from this model, which they inherited when they purchased the True Sports racing operation, and they will put that into their new design. They have a wind tunnel, a 1/40th scale wind tunnel capability. I mean, they have gone all out to go into developing their own chassis, the same way Roger Penske has done his.
Designed by John Halliday, and they have come up with a new model. Mike Groff is going to be doing the testing on that, and Mike Groff is actually going to be doing about 5 or 6 races for the Rahal Hogan team this year. Not exactly sure which races, but he is going to be out there racing and doing all the test driving for them back in mid-Ohio.
You're looking at the new second place position owned by Emerson Fittipaldi of Team Penske. Roberto Guerrero has moved up to 3rd. Robbie Gordon has moved up to 4th. Mario Andretti rounds out our top 5 here at Phoenix International Raceway.
There you see the crew working again at the back of the Scott Goodyear Lola Cosworth Walker Motorsports car.
Looks like they're taking off the rear wing, which could mean a gearbox situation. There's Lindsay James. Yes, we haven't had a chance to see her at all today. Her best career finish, 11th at last year's Indy 500. She did a really great job when everybody else was trashing into the walls. She kept a nice steady throttle and did an excellent job. This has been a real learning experience for her. This is the first year that she's going to have full sponsorship, and she'll be around for every race from here on out. She did not go to Australia because of budget problems. But she is looking forward to campaign, and she'll do better on the road courses because that's where she cut her teeth.
Also creating a lot of attention for herself and the team generally on the Indycar circuit. She's been signing autographs all weekend, and a lot of TV crews and reporters following the story of the fact that Lindsay James is doing so well in the series because she was the Rookie of the Year at the Indy 500 last year.
As you can see, she stayed right around 20th position throughout the entire first half of the race. There's Teo Fabi. We see him now in his 6th Phoenix start. He won this event back in 1983. Teo, of course, with Formula One experience as well. He's now driving for Jim Hall and BDS Racing. There you see his serial. Started 8th, dropped back to 11th, and is currently running 9th after 113 laps.
We could see a new record set here today if this pace continues as far as the time of the race is run. And with fewer cars out on the track, we're going to have fewer reasons for a yellow. Less traffic as the day goes on, which is going to make things easier for poor Tracy.
There is Mario Andretti. Mario currently running in 5th position now. He is 4 laps down to the leader, but holding on the honors of Newman Haas Racing.
Finished 4th in the season opener in Surfers Paradise in Australia.
You know, there's some people that say Mario should park it like A.J. Foyt, but he has said flat out, hey, I love it, and I'm still competitive, and he proved it in qualifying, and he's proven it out here. I mean, he is running in the top 5, and again, you got to remember, on this 1 mile, 21-second lap bull ring, 4 laps down really isn't that much. There is Scott Pruitt. Now, here's a man who has has had all kinds of adversity. He was running with the True Sports operation, had a serious crash at West Palm Beach that put him out of the seat for a year. He still has very painful ankles from that crash. He lost the ride when True Sports was sold, and the Budweiser sponsorship went to Kenny Bernstein's team. He's now with this Performance team. This is a 91 Lola, and Pruitt doing an excellent job of just keeping his car out on the track and learning as much as they can in this first race.
It's a 91 Lola with a Chevy A engine, so he's not got the best equipment, but he does have some of the top people working for him, including John Dick, who is the team manager, crew chief. John Dick engineered Harry Leinbach's Indy 500 win a couple of years ago.
He's running 10th right now, and that's an excellent place for that team to be in their first race together.
They don't have the budget that a lot of the other teams do. They're only going to do 9 races this year.
There is Robbie Gordon again. You know, one more note on Pruitt is we're looking at Gordon doing very well. In fact, going around
Emerson Fittipaldi.
Emerson Fittipaldi. Is Fittipaldi coming back now? These two going after each other. We'll get. Whoa! Look out, Gordon. Whoa!
Almost getting in contact with Teo Fabi on the outside.
That would have gotten AJ's heart thumping if he saw that one.
Well, as we saw in Australia, AJ was not going to let Robbie Gordon go out in a new 93 car until he proved that he could keep it off the walls and out of the hedges and out of the ditches. And he did that, and so they let him run with the 93 here, but they have problems with it, so he's now running in the 1992 model.
I'll tell you what, he is currently running 4th. If he finishes 3rd and 4th in his first 2 races, this team is going to be reckoned with in the points championship. They're going to be a factor. They may not win it all, but they're going to play a key role as to who will win this thing.
And I think you'll find that Robbie Gordon is probably stronger on the street courses. Here you see him coming in between Fabi. I'm sorry, that's Jimmy Vassar.
That's Jimmy Vassar, and the wheel was inside. If they touched, somebody could have gotten launched. Those wheels were interlocked for a moment. That's what they call one of those close calls that you get away with. That was Bobby Rahal. He was out of the car. And we're back to the race action up front. That is our leader, Paul Tracy.
Buddy Lazier in front of him in the purple Viper-sponsored car.
Oh, look at the acceleration. That is just incredible. There's the summary, and that average speed would be a record. Now here's who's out of the race. Scott Brayton, Danny Sullivan, Stefan Johansson, Eddie Cheever, and of course Bobby Rahal.
Alonso Jr. going past Lynn St. James going into turn 2. The bankings at turn 1 and 2, a little higher than 3. There's a bit of a kink on the back stretch.
Brayton went out with an electrical problem. Cheever's problem was listed as a vibration. Sullivan with a throttle linkage, as we suspected. And then Rahal, he said that his handling was just not where it needed to be. So obviously that car was, and we watched him down in turn 4 during practice first day, and the rear end was very loose.
Everyone this week has been complaining about the car being loose, and they've all seemed to have worked their way through it and get the handling as best they can through the sessions. But that was the biggest complaint, the car's being loose. Although Hiro Matsuda said he was loose in turn 1 and pushing in turn 3, so he had a real problem with the
So as we leave our American team for a moment, there we see the Paul Tracy out in the lead from Fittipaldi, Guerrero in 3rd, Robbie Gordon 4th, Andretti 5th, and Raul Boesel up into 6th. That's Harry Leinbach we're looking from there, and it looks as though he's getting a little bit annoyed with somebody who wasn't moving out of his way. We're now up to lap 127, so still some way to go in this race, but it's Paul Tracy who really is dominating out in front, and he doesn't seem to be struggling too much with his tyres, Robin.
No, I think this is very much a race of tyres. I think the Penske team have done a fantastic job of getting their tyres to work, and that's the only contact the car should have with the ground. And as I said, we saw the problem with Mario's tyres when he came in, and it looks like that's the key factor in this race. Of course, having said how good the Ford was on fuel consumption and so on, we have two Chevys running first and second.
It's always the way. We've got Robbie Buell in the pits. Looks like he's in trouble. Scott Goodyear we saw go out a little bit earlier on. That was a great shame when he was running in second place. Great loss to the race. And Bobby Rahal right out of it now and has actually retired that car. So last year's winner certainly won't be doing a repeat performance here. Robbie Gordon is one of the men really going well, though. Robbie Gordon in fourth place at the moment. A superb performance this on his first ever oval IndyCar race. And the guy who started off his racing career off-road, was off-road champion in California in 88, 89 and 1990. Really has taken to single-seaters like the proverbial duck to water.
And he's driving for A.J. Foyt. And to those of us who are familiar with the American scene, we will know that that is a very special experience.
I'm sure it is. Foyt down there in the pits, we saw him earlier heading up the operation, and the four-time winner of Indy 500. 7 times he won the IndyCar Championship. So I should think he's certainly got a few words of advice for Robbie Gordon throughout the course of the race. Well, it certainly is an exciting race. Tracy dominating at the moment, but it could all change yet. Keep with us here on Eurosport. We come back after the break. For Robbie Gordon, the man who was going so well. In fact, he'd just taken third place and got past Roberto Guerrero. There is Robbie Gordon, and he is not a happy man at all. The 24-year-old Californian. There's his team boss, A.J. Foyt, in the pits. And Robbie Gordon hit the wall pretty hard. We didn't actually see whether he got tied up with another car, and hopefully we'll get another chance to have a little look at that in a moment. But Robbie Gordon, that's the end of his race, and what a shame, because he was going, here we see it, and well, that's just the latter part. That's really all we saw as Gordon hits the wall there, hits it hard, bit of a flame out from the back there. And Gordon's race certainly run, and that really is a great shame. Just moved up into third place as we went to the break, or during the break, but now Gordon well out of it. He's in one piece. That's the good thing, as we see Mario Andretti back into the pits. But, well, another one lost to the wall there, Robin.
Yeah, shame. Again, it's his 8th start, first one on ovals. He did, I said, he did look like a Formula One driver, because both he and Mansell were the two drivers who stood out by their aggression in Australia.
Okay, so we've got Gordon out of the race.
The interesting thing was this yellow has come at a perfect time. Not for Tracy, but that probably doesn't matter. But it's exactly when they would be planning their second and final pit stop. Tracy, in fact, did his pit stop at 123 laps, which was perfect for the...
So we now will rejoin our American commentators to keep us updated.
Ooh.
End of pit road.
Guerrero coming out of pit road.
Hit the wall.
No.
He must have tapped it or something.
That's what made...
We need to try and listen if they get an interview with Robbie.
Or a replay.
Oh.
Darn it. She has a... Dawn has a radio, right?
Welcome to Phoenix International Raceway. Marty Reed, Guy Hobbs, the Valvoline 200 IndyCar PPG World Championship round number 2. And the accident by Robbie Gordon up in turn number 1 has brought out our second yellow of the day. And Paul Tracy has still been in command of this race from the get-go. He is behind the pace car at this point, as is the rest of the field. Everybody making pit stops at this point, because by the time we get around to going green again, we will be in the window where fuel should no longer be a factor for these cars. There's the wreck of Robbie's car. The back end suffering the brunt of the damage, the wing off, and the suspension parts on both sides bent just a bit.
They tend to do that.
It'll be interesting. We'll try and find out Robbie's version of what happened.
He will, of course, at the moment be doing his mandatory visit to the infield medical center, which they have here at every single IndyCar race. And even on the smallest incident, all the drivers are made to go and get a checkup And once he's out of there, we'll see if we can find out his version of the story.
We show 6-7 cars now out of this race. As we are under caution, this huge crowd here in the desert of Phoenix, Arizona. 86 degrees, just a few high, thin clouds, and absolutely perfect for the fans. I'm sure it has been intensely hot inside the cockpits of these race cars. In fact, they're probably enjoying this yellow right now. It's their one chance to get a little breather. Now remember, our leader is Paul Tracy. He has a 2-lap lead over a teammate, Emerson Fittipaldi. A 2-lap lead over third place, which is now Roberto Guerrero. As you see, the reason for this yellow, Robbie Gordon's Lola being towed back to the pits.
The only problem as far as Paul Tracy is concerned at this point is on having the yellow is you tend to get out of a rhythm. I mean, he is obviously pumped in his zone and ready to race, and is just carving his way through the field. The car is perfect. A yellow like this is going to take him out of his rhythm. His heartbeat's going to come down, and he's going to come out of that zone. He's going to get back right in it and hopefully continue the way he is, although he does have, like you say, a 2-lap cushion, which certainly helps.
Well, if everybody got a full load on this last stop, they will be able to go the distance. 64 laps. We are just into lap number 143 by our leader.
Now, Paul Tracy did not take this opportunity as of yet under this yellow to get a little extra fuel, which he may want to do, just get a dash just to make sure they can go all the way. Otherwise, he's going to have to do that towards the end of the race. But with he, like we said earlier, he has that 2-lap cushion over the rest of the field, which gives him time to do it. But you really don't want to do it unless you have to, because it gives you an opportunity to make more mistakes. Maybe a silly pit crew error, stalling the car on the exit, running over the hose line will give you a stop-and-go penalty. Any number of ways to lose a race.
Well, Robbie Gordon, I'm sure, is thinking long and hard about what happened. It'll be interesting to find out whether or not he was touched, hit by anyone, or whether or not he just lost control. He was running spectacularly in third place. He had started 20th on the grid and had, as we have documented, if you're just joined us, he had all kinds of problems. Blew a motor in the first day of practice, had a horrible qualifying session, then had an accident this morning in the warm-up when he touched Buddy Lazier. Here we go, green. Paul Tracy on lap number 145.
As far as the championship is concerned, at the moment it's favoring Emerson Fittipaldi. He currently has 17 points and will pick up another 16 if he finishes second today, which will put him at 33, which gives him a 12-point lead over Nigel Mansell.
Well, let's set it for you. Paul Tracy is our leader. Emerson Fittipaldi 2 laps down in second. Roberto Guerrero is in third, 2 laps down as well. Then Mario Andretti is fourth, 3 laps down, and 4 laps down is Raul Boisel in 5th place. Boisel having a great run here today.
I expect Emma is on the radio back to Roger Penske going, hey, what's Paul got?
Yeah. What's in his tank? Give me some of that
I want
stuff.
that. Share it.
Well, now we're into that section also of the race where, you know, you talked about pacing and getting into a rhythm. Now you've got to worry about keeping your position. You don't want to have anything go wrong at this point. It's that last dash coming up about the last 50 to 40 laps very soon when everybody will push that last little bit. And the heat of the day still beating into the track. Tires get a little slippery. That was Mark Smith that we took a look at there.
Mark Smith, his brother Mike Smith, came up through the ranks of single-seater racing. Mike decided he got bored of that, so he went back to racing aeroplanes in California. Dave Coudray in the number 50 car. Dave came up through the ranks of Toyota Atlantics and also the Indy Light Series.
There's Mario Andretti now running 4th in this field. He's been very consistent. Fell off the pace early after grabbing the early lead and was was not able to keep contact with Paul Tracy, but don't feel bad, Mario. Nobody's been able to keep contact with Paul Tracy. He has gone out and pulled open a 2-lap lead over the nearest competitor, his teammate Emerson Fittipaldi. But Mario holding up the honor of Newman Haas racing well as he continues to run consistent times and holds on to 4th place.
At the top of the show, we mentioned that the Lola Ford XB was a combination to beat. Well, obviously it's turned out to be the Penske BC23 Chevy C, which is a combination to beat.
This is also when Paul Tracy, remember one rap against Paul Tracy last year, if you did not follow IndyCar closely, is that he had a tendency to be too aggressive and managed to damage quite a few vehicles last year. As you look at the number of stops that everybody has made, Mario has made 3 pit stops, but Mario can, I believe, certainly go the distance at this point because he was well within the window of 64 laps. I still think Paul Tracy's going to have to make one more.
I think we'll see Paul Tracy do a splash and dash. Interesting shot there from behind Alonso Jr.'s head. You see the cushion, the pad as a support for his helmet and for his head. As they go through about 4 or 5 Gs around this track, their heads are pushed way out. It saves on a lot of net work if he has that cushion there to save him having to do all the work and use his own neck muscles to keep his head steady.
Yeah, we're going to have to get somebody who, one of these experts, to measure that sometime, because some of the drivers tell us it's 3.5 Gs, and others, as you said, go as high as 4 to 5 Gs, and obviously the weight of gravity, the multiplier effect is quite a bit. So it's one of those ethereal numbers, but certainly we know the figures are well documented that it still takes its toll, no matter what the actual number is, whether it be 3.5, 4, or 5. At the end of 200 laps of having your head flop over. In fact, I remember doing a race several years ago when Price Cobb was running at Lime Rock, which is a road course, but it's predominantly a right turn road course. Few left-handers in there to keep your attention. And he came out of the car complaining in 100-degree heat. He could not keep his neck up. They had not taken any precautions for that fact. And he came out of the car and he said, I can't drive anymore. I can't hold my head up.
Price Cobb, just one of the many drivers roaming around the paddock area this weekend, as well as Thierry Boutsen out of Belgium. The ex-Formula 1 driver may be here searching for work. On board with Arie Luyendyk in the Chip Ganassi car. That's a Lola Ford combination. Luyendyk, of course, who has won the Indianapolis 500. His only victories, in fact, in the IndyCar series have come on ovals.
Luyendyk shown in 10th place at this point, so considering all the problems they have had, he's making the best of it. There you see our leaderboard, the top 6. There you see Arie in 10th. Scott Pruitt in a fine run for that team in 9th now after the accident by Robbie Gordon. They inherited a position.
Jimmy Vasser having a good run too. We saw him earlier. There he is, in fact, in the number 18.
In fact, he's about to be put another lap down by our leader, Paul Tracy.
Actually, that's Raul Boesel. There's too many yellow and black cars here this weekend, Marty, and too many all black cars.
Oh, Roberto Guerrero is on pit lane, and there is smoke coming from the right rear section of the car. So I don't know.
So we just left our American team as Guerrero in the pits, and we don't know whether there's actually a problem there with the car or whether that was one of the pit stops allotted. So bit of a problem. There's Marco Greco, a man who raced in Britain and Europe a lot in Formula 3 and in Formula 3000. Now taking part in IndyCars, another car off. Now who's that? That could be our leader. Yes, I think it is. It's Paul Tracy. Paul Tracy, the man who's led every single lap virtually from the beginning, apart from when Mario Andretti was in front. And that is indeed Paul Tracy, the former leader of the race. Oh dear, we were talking about this, Robin, and the American team was telling us a bit about how Paul has had some accidents in the past when he's been in good positions and he's had a few problems. I really didn't expect to see it with that lead that healthy, though.
Oh, it's so sad. Of course, we don't know what caused it yet, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt, first of all. It's a shame because Tracy and Guerrero gone out, and when you had a leaderboard of Tracy, Emo, Guerrero, Andretti, and Vassell, you had 5 pretty civilized human beings lead a race, which doesn't always happen.
So it looks as though that's Paul Tracy's race over. He gets out fairly gingerly. Looks like he could have just injured something there. We're going to take another look at this and see exactly what's happened. So here we go. We just see the latter stages once again, so we don't really see what caused the problem. But oh my word, he was lucky to be missed there. Somebody very nearly collected the back of the car, and just as well that they didn't. We must be under yellow flag period again now, as Tracy is looked after by the medical services, the rescue units there. Very, very good indeed. And that was a hefty whack against the wall, Robin. That will certainly have knocked the stuffing out of him, I think.
Is that Tracy or Emma?
So certainly looks as though Paul Tracy is in some pain there. Let's have a look now. We might well have another look at this. He's just lapping one of the slower cars. That looks like it could be Jimmy Vassar's car down the inside there, and yes, he just was squeezed out, so it wasn't really his fault. Just squeezed out when he tried to go down the inside, and really he tried to tighten his line, but the tyres were already at their limit of cornering as they went into the corner, and so that was it. My word. Well, Paul Tracy is certainly a heavy impact against the wall. And difficult to say whether that one, it's not really an experience, was it, Robin? He was unlucky here. We've got another look at it. Just talk us through it in a moment.
I'd have to say maybe slightly imprudent. He put himself in a position where that could happen, where perhaps he didn't need to. I'm sure in a year's time he wouldn't do it.
Maybe his mentor, Rick Mears, would have been a little bit more careful in exactly the same situation. Maybe just the impetuosity of youth, still only 24. But, well, that certainly changes the complexion of the race. That brings his teammate, Emerson Fittipaldi, into the lead now, of course. He was 2 laps down, but Fittipaldi now will be out in front. Guerrero will be up into 2nd place. Mario Andretti up into 3rd place. Good run for Mario. Then Bazell, and then Jim Vassar. Well, we're going to return to this very exciting, dramatic race in just a few minutes' time, which has had a few battle scars now in terms of this race. There were quite a few accidents. In fact, in testing before the race, we had Arie Luyendyk went off just last week in the final test session there. We had a few more off, Joe, over the winter as well.
Yes, in fact, yesterday in the Atlantic race, Jacques Villeneuve, the son of Gilles Villeneuve, went off at the same place, and in fact the race was won by his teammate. It's both sponsored by players, and it's a team that's going to be run by Barry Green and Forsyth next year, and they seem to be set to dominate the Atlantic Series, which is equivalent to Formula 3, in the same way that Michael's excellent 3001 team down in Littlehampton did last year with Russell Spence and co.
So that wall has certainly claimed a few victims, not just the IndyCars, but some of the support races as well. We've got the cars still circulating with the yellow flag out. That's so that they can obviously pick up all the bits and pieces. We've got one more lap under the yellow flag, and then the race will be back underway. We have 16 cars left out of the field of 25, so we've lost 9 of them, some of them through accidents, some through mechanical problems. So it certainly looks as though we could be in for more dramas before the end of the race. But there's the man who currently leads the race, Emerson Fittipaldi. We're coming round there. We can see, in fact, the top 6, Fittipaldi, Andretti, Bazell, Vassar up into 4th. This really is a tremendous performance from the 27-year-old. Alonso Jr. going a little bit better, but maybe taking advantage of the misfortune of some of the others. Teo Fabi in the Hall VDS Pennzoil car. He's now up into 6th place. Well, the cars are speeding up, getting ready to get back into the race. Let's rejoin the American commentary team.
Mario Andretti in 2nd place. 3rd place, Raul Boesel. Now Mario has a lap in hand. Oh, and we've got contact in the turn 3 wall.
Scott Pruitt, I think. Emerson Fittipaldi.
Fittipaldi. This is unbelievable.
No one's going to want to take the lead from this point.
How does this happen? That's exactly what we were just talking about. I mean, you can't imagine someone with that kind of experience having that kind of crash.
I think he made some contact with another car, although there should not have been another car in his way.
No, I mean, he went out and was running in a clear area. Now the Penske crew is together.
Oh, well, they're not going to be very happy there.
Let's see if we can get a look at it. Here is Emerson. He's the car that just goes around. I wonder if something let go.
That is very similar to Paul Tracy's incident. Maybe they do have a problem.
I'm wondering if something let go.
And we have not seen an incident here at this turn all weekend long. Making pretty hard contact too.
Yeah, we don't get a good look. The first view was the one that really shows us the best angle. But he comes around. At least he's climbing out of the car. That is good news. I gotta believe something let go, because that thing snapped around. That just didn't seem to be a situation. I mean, those tires are plenty warm. We've got 86 degrees. But here's another view. Let's see if we get another. Yeah, we don't get much from that view.
I think he maybe just gets a little too high coming into, or coming out of 3 into 4.
There he is, the left-hand portion of the screen. Now watch how quickly it just goes away. He's into the turn, and I don't know. I gotta believe something let go in that car. Maybe a suspension piece. I mean, it just came around so fast. And there's Emerson.
He had mentioned earlier after Paul Tracy's incident that there could be some debris out on the track, and maybe he did pick up some debris. And
he'd pick it up in turn 1 and have the problem all the way over in turn 3?
That's what seems odd to me. That's why
I don't know.
It seems odd that he would make it all the way around. If you're going to hit some debris and cut a tire, or maybe like 1 lap down or halfway down the straight there, he could have cut a tire and it could have given away on him at the last moment.
Yeah, into the rankings a bit more, with Teo Fabi in 5th and Arie Luyendyk in 6th position. So little Al, who's had a tough time really here at Phoenix, hasn't really been on the pace, but well, he might actually get a result out of this, Robin.
Yeah, great to see him up there at 4th, and for all the lads at Galmer, I'm sure it'll give them a lot of encouragement. Assuming he finishes, we don't have a continuation of what appears to be a demolition derby. Very interesting again that Anza came in to change his rear wing, or change his wing rather, which would indicate again that the track is changing. Final point, Mario's first race as team leader for 5 years. I ain't going to say any more about him winning after what I said about Emo.
That's right, we better watch out, otherwise it could all change again. Well, we've got around 18, 19 laps to go. They're on their final lap before the green flag is waved. And so Andretti just has a short distance to see whether he can record a historic win here.
Yeah, it's about 6 minutes of green flag racing.
Right, the cars are building up speed now, and coming round out of turn 4, they come on to the start-finish straight. The green flag waves, and Andretti with the advantage. Let's rejoin our team in America.
New Mexico making up the top 5.
Well, Mario has about 17 laps to run, and he'll win his first race since 1988. The over 50 club is going to be celebrating tonight if Mario can pull this off. The former Formula One world champion, the former PPG Indycar champion. This would be a great way to cap off the weekend. Nigel Mansell said, one of his last comments was, I want to wish everybody, I want to wish Mario good luck. It would be great if Mario could win for the team. Well, there is Emerson. You can see that he is okay. Back to the action on the race course.
Well, there's still one race that Mario really wants to win for a second time, and that is coming up in May, the Indianapolis 500.
And I have to tell you, living in Indianapolis, I don't know if you know this, they have changed the course. They have put in some, basically, they look like rumble strips where the white line used to be. And if you know, Mario's style at Indy is to drive 2 and sometimes 4 wheels below that white line. You no longer are going to be able to do that. It's going to force a lot of drivers, including Mario, to change his line, and it's going to slow him down. In fact, that's one of the reasons they did it. They want to slow everybody down, and it will have its effect. One side effect that they're concerned with is that it may turn the corners from a 2-lane racetrack into a 1-lane racetrack. And we'll have to wait for the month of May to find out if that is the case. But that man right there is going to have to go to school to learn a new race line at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And he's going to have to share that information with his teammate Nigel Mansell and help him, because Nigel was scheduled to go testing in Indianapolis twice. Both times it was snowed out, so he will not get a chance until he goes for his rookie orienteering test coming up, which every rookie driver has to go through, no matter what ranks of racing you've come through.
Mario coming up on lap traffic already. Again, remember, it only takes 21 seconds to get around in the speed differential. That's Hiro Matsushita in front of him. And Mario with a 1-lap lead over Boisel is not going to take any chances. He's going to make sure he gets around the Panasonic machine of Matsushita safely, and he does.
That's Ross Bentley behind Matt Schuster. He's been in there all day. I wonder if Mario Sposmati has been edged on a little bit by the fact that he's been joined by Nigel Mansell. He's obviously a lot older than Michael, who would obviously push Mario. Do you think he has been thrown up the wick a bit?
They certainly have a lot more in common than he would. Whoa, look how close Al Jr. came to the wall. They have a great deal in common. They're both Formula One world champions. They know a lot about racing, and they have seemed to have genuinely enjoyed this experience together. And it's been refreshing, as Nigel said, just the entire experience. He's been enjoying it all, and I think you're right. I think Mario's enjoyed it as well. There is Al Jr. Now remember, he is running in 4th spot. He is behind Jimmy Vasser and ahead of Teo Fabi. Fabi is 1 lap down behind Al Unser Jr. So all those pit stops did not hurt him.
There's Dave Goodgrave in the black number 50, causing some traffic problems. Marco Greco in the red number 30.
And now we're getting more word on Emerson Fittipaldi's accident. Now that some people have been able to talk to Emerson, he says the rear suspension let go. So, because of the debris. So, obviously, the debris is still the key factor in this. And now we know it was a suspension that let go. And that is indicative of a snap spin like that one. Back on board with Ari Leyendyk. Ari turning out a very good performance through the attrition. He is now running 6th overall. This would be a great finish for this team with all the problems that they have had.
They'll be very unhappy all weekend long. Teo Fabi on the outside, Ari going down on the inside.
That puts Ari on the same lap with Teo Fabi with 6 laps remaining. I don't think he has enough time to get around, and even if we had a yellow, in fact, now we have 5 laps remaining as our leader, Mario Andretti, heads down into turn number 1 one more time. What a celebration there's going to be in the Newman Haas pit if the venerable champion Mario Andretti can pull this victory off. On board with Mario, down the front straightaway, 4 laps remaining. Don't go anywhere because it only takes 21 seconds to get around this racetrack.
There you see the crew of the pit lane anxiously keeping their fingers crossed, hoping not to hear any odd sounds from the car at the last moment here.
3 laps remaining for Mario Andretti. So many times at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this is when you hear the 4 most famous words. And it's not "gentlemen, start your engines," it's Mario is slowing down. He's back in traffic. That's Scott Pruitt right in front of him. I'm sure Pruitt is aware, and he'll give him plenty of room. And does. Pruitt on a good run himself. 2 laps to go. Andretti, all he has to do is circle this track 2 more times. Victory will be his. The first time since 1988 at this very track. That is 70 races ago. What a dry spell about to come to an end. This would be like Jack Nicklaus winning another golf tournament, one of the majors. The white flag is out. One more time around. The crowd is on its feet. This capacity crowd at Phoenix International Raceway.
They're going to go nuts here.
There is Paul Newman, co-owner of Newman Haas Racing. His team team about to take another victory. It was Nigel Mansell winning at Australia for Newman Haas. It's going to be Mario Andretti taking the checkered flag for the second time in round 2 for Newman Haas Racing, and the hand goes into the air. Yes, yes, says Paul Newman.
Very happy team. They're located at the far end of the pit lane, and they're going to be jumping for joy there for a little while, I should imagine.
Raul Boisel pulls up alongside. What a great run for that team. They finish in second place. Jimmy Vasser is third. Al Unser Jr. is fourth. Teo Fabi fifth, and Ari Lyondike will come home in sixth place with Scott Pruitt seventh. A great performance for Mario Andretti, consistently just running those laps. Remember when we talked about it, he got down by as much as 3 laps at one point and just kept running those laps, waiting for the race to come back to him, and it certainly did. There is the official order of results for the top 6. Tremendous race for Mario Andretti as he pulls into victory lane. There.
Well, what an incredible race that for Mario Andretti. A real historic result. His first win since 1988 and the second win for the Newman Haas team of the 1993 season. Really a tremendous result, Robin.
Yes, what a shame Mansell wasn't in it. I mean, can you imagine what had happened if he'd been in the middle of all that? I think it would have been even greater. The thing, of course, being a Formula One racer, is the prospect as the president of FOCA and the president of FISA and the president of the FIA are looking in the future to running Formula One races on ovals. You can imagine Formula One races on there.
Well, they certainly have to go some to match the excitement that we've seen in this particular race.
Oh, they'll do it, don't they?
I'm sure they will, yeah, I'm sure they will. Well, a superb race. Just to quickly run through that finishing order again, it was Mario Andretti who won the race from Raul Boesel. That's a great result also for Raul Boesel, who had a second place last year, but that matches his career best result, so great result for him. Jimmy Vasser in third place, and this is in his rookie year for Indycar, so that really is a tremendous performance for him. Fourth was Al Unser Jr. after a lot of problems with the Gallus Lola. Finally got a good result that just showed the benefits of plugging away at it. Teo Fabi in fifth place in the Pennzoil car, and Ari Lyondike, after his accident in testing just recently, in sixth position. So a lot of the wise campaigners in there in that final 6, with Jimmy Vasser, the man who sort of got in there amongst the wise campaigners, and he's really shown that he's got perhaps an older head on young shoulders.
Very impressive performance. I think there'll be a few teams, not just in kart, having a look at him, and of course at Robbie Gordon.
Yeah, at Robbie Gordon as well. Robbie Gordon out in one of the accidents that we saw, along with Paul Tracy. There we see Mario Andretti, and well, he's certainly looking very, very happy indeed after that win. World Formula One champion in 1978 when he was driving for Lotus. Interestingly enough, Andretti and Mansell actually raced together in the Lotus team on a couple of occasions in 1980 when Mansell first went into Formula One. They're now teammates again, but this time in IndyCar racing. Mansell's taken the win at Surfers Paradise, the first round of the championship. Andretti's taken the win in the second round of the championship, and the Newman Haas team suddenly looking very, very strong indeed, and that Ford Cosworth engine powering them to the victory. So certainly a great result for Andretti, and we're actually going to take another look at those final few laps in a moment and actually see how Andretti took the victory, which he is obviously delighted with. Andretti waving at the crowd there, getting tremendous support from everybody around. Well, what do you reckon on his chances at Indy now, Robin? I mean, OK, we've got another race in between now and then. He's had so much bad luck, hasn't he, over the years at Indianapolis. 1969 was his only win, and he's been up there but never taken the win again.
Yeah, I have to say we were lucky enough to win 5 Indies on a row, but 1 or 2 of those came from the bad luck of Mario, and he deserved them, not us. I'd love to see Mario win there. It would be fabulous, and in these circumstances it would be a bit special.
It certainly would. Well, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how things actually develop.